Hello, writers. Come write with me. My name is Michaela Greenwood. I create worlds for mind adventures. Welcome to my channel, Write with Michaela. I'm very excited to have you join me on my channel, so don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you can continue on this journey with me. Today is story time, or the day of our chapter exchange, so send in your chapters. If you're writing with me and you wish to exchange chapters, then send your chapter with written permission to writewithmichaela@gmail.com. I will post the email address at the end of the video and in the description below. I'm looking forward to reading your chapters or your writing prompts. All chapters are writing prompts read on the channel, whether they are mine or another writer's work, are copyright protected material, and no one may use any part in writing their own stories. This story is PG-13, so if you're under 13 years of age, you need parental guidance. This story is in its rough draft stage, just as the last stories that we've heard, just like the writing prompts we've heard. The title of this story is Elementals, and today we are reading chapter 8. If you would like to read along, then send to the email I stated earlier and request a PDF of the chapter. Make sure you are specific. Now let's start. Elementals, chapter 8, Traveling. Before we start, let's say, I told you one of the days this week, I think it was supposition on Tuesday, that I kind of summarize my chapters with a title. So traveling tells you that somebody in the story is going to be traveling. So with that in mind, let's start the story. After an hour, Alex heard some noises. She slipped out of the bed and threw a bundle of clothes or materials on the bed and threw the covers over the bundle. She squatted down and headed to the door of the room. She had used magic to escape the gnomes, but she used just stealth to escape Emery's home. She would have to use stealth again. Alex peered in the dark common room that was outside her room. The noise seemed to come from across the way. Then suddenly, a bright light burst forth in the other room. To Alex, it looked like fire, and she heard Eleanor cursing some beast. Alex knew this was her chance. While there was so much other noise from Eleanor and whatsoever beast, so she crept to the front door. She had carefully watched Eleanor lock the door, so she carefully unlocked all the mechanisms and quietly slipped out of the house. She wished she could at least relock the door, but she decided not to even try. Alex squatted on the steps and looked out in the village to see which way she should go. Across the way, she saw a flick of light, and a slender woman was motioning to her. Alex didn't know if she was going out of the frying pan into the fire or not, but she headed towards the woman. She told herself that Eleanor was her enemy, so hopefully this was a friend. Once Alex arrived at the woman took her right hand and examined it. Oh no, this is not good. Then the woman cast a spell on Alex's hand. Something jumped out of Alex's hand, and the woman struck the thing, but not before it stuck one of its mandibles in her. Alex was super nervous as the woman grabbed her arm and led her into a small patch of trees. Come, we need to get underground in the tunnel. Hopefully no one will miss the tracker yet. They descended some stairs, and the woman took a torch off the wall and handed it to Alex. Then she took out some wooden tweezers and plucked out the mandible. She held the piece to the flame, but the wooden tweezers didn't catch fire. Soon the mandible became ashes, and the ashes drifted down to the floor. Then the woman took out a powder and put it in a tiny bowl with a few drops of water. Alex watched as her hand healed right away. She opened it and closed it a few times. Then she looked at the woman. I'm a witch as well, the woman explained. I've watched all day for an opportunity to get you out. I can't go with you. The tunnel will keep you safe. My dad, your companions are with Sanchez. They should be fine, and hopefully they will meet you in the chamber just down the way. I have to go. I have to seal the tunnel so the High Lord's people don't find it. The woman handed Alex a folded piece of paper and turned to leave. Wait, said Alex. Who are you? Where do I go? I'm just an apprentice. That's why Eleanor hasn't discovered me. Follow the tunnel. Hopefully someone will meet you at the end and escort you to Sisnor. The woman turned and headed up the stairs. Name? Called Alex. Levy, said the woman, and then she exited the tunnel and sealed the entrance. Alex sighed to herself. She felt like the woman was locking her in. Alex stuffed the paper in a pocket and held the torch over her hand. Her hand started bleeding once again, and it started to swell as well. So either the woman didn't want it to heal, or the woman wasn't quite strong enough against Eleanor. This dream, or alternate world, had nightmarish tones. Alex sighed and turned to her left. Alex sighed and turned to look at the tunnel. There were two directions to take. One tunnel went to her left, and one was more in front of her, although it went at an angle. She headed down that tunnel because she could see some light ahead, and she felt that was the way Levy had motioned. Sanchez arrived in the small section of trees, and he met Levy. They exchanged their news and watched as the large tree that contained Eleanor's home seemed to have an uncontained fire when they looked through the windows that had parted curtains. They dropped into the trees. They would walk further south before they flew away. Sanchez had a pitchfork which he would fly on, and Levy had a broom. As they walked through the sparse trees, they heard the commotion of the people running towards the tree with water buckets. Sanchez turned back to look. He couldn't make anything out. He did hear Eleanor exclaim that she was okay, and he did hear Eleanor exclaim that she was okay as she came out to calm the crowd. She said her pet had just had the hiccups. He heard her say something about the fire was over and the crowd needed to be quiet so they didn't disturb her guests. Sanchez and Levy turned back south and hurried up. Surely it wouldn't be too long before Eleanor missed the elemental. Alex made it to a more open chamber. There were a couple of old lamps that lit up the room and a holder for the torch on the wall. There were a tray of food and a porcelain kettle of tea, some little cups. There were cloth napkins that she could use on her new wound. Alex was hungry, but she thought that perhaps she was now in Alice in Wonderland. She sat for a few minutes, applying pressure to stop the bleeding before she picked up a small cookie and took a small bite. It tasted like a cookie. Alex waited to see if she would grow or shrink. When nothing happened after a few minutes, she finished the cookie. She poured herself some tea and grabbed a piece of jerky. After she ate a bite, she realized how hungry she was, so she finished off the piece of jerky. Then she heard a noise down the tunnel she came from. She didn't want to continue down the tunnel on the opposite side of the room because it was dark, so she hid behind a chair and waited. She had trained, so hopefully she could handle whosoever was in the tunnel, unless, of course, they had more magic than she did, which wasn't much, or at least nothing very helpful. Sarge and Michael stopped in the doorway to the chamber. The horse was behind them. Alex leaned around. Then she stood up. Sarge? Lieutenant Michaels? Then she wondered if they were really who they looked like they were. If you are you, then tell me. I can tell you anything, stated Sarge. You were supposed to arrest Eddie Von Now. Michaels motioned with his flashlight. How do we know you are you? Alex walked around the chair and sat down. I don't know. Apparently the witch Eleanor put a tracker on me, so she could have done other things. Was the tracker removed? Asked the horse, as he sounded a little panicked. Alex held out her right hand. Yeah, Levy somehow knew the tracker was there, and she got it out, but it bit me before she struck it, and her healing powder didn't quite work. Eleanor is a strong witch, stated the horse. Alex pressed her eyebrows together. She was glad she had escaped, but surely there was more than one tracker. Are you in a dream? Asked Sarge, just to double-check things. I wish I were, stated Alex. She motioned to the plate. But if I were, the movie would now be Alice in Wonderland, and I will be shrinking or growing. Sarge and Michaels also sat down, and they took some jerky to eat. The horse just stood in the chamber. He did suggest that Michaels look at the hand Alex had the napkin around. Alex agreed to look at it after they ate. Alex asked the horse how she could tell if that had been the only tracker. The horse said Eleanor was probably overconfident, so Sarge said it was dangerous to underestimate an enemy, so the horse told a spell she could say. He said he wasn't strong enough to say it in his present form, but he thought Alex could work the spell. Alex briefly got out her wand, that was a recipe, said the spell. She felt tingling all over. She shivered and put the wand back. There was no sense in having it out and waving it around any more than she would have out her gun. The horse said the spell was working, and it was searching, and if the tingling sensation went away, then she was fine. And if not? Asked Alex. Then you will feel pain at the location of the tracker, replied the horse. After the tingling went away, Alex reached in her dress pocket and pulled out the paper that Levy had given her. She opened it and saw some of the strange words that Eleanor was speaking earlier. I wonder what this does. She pulled out the recipe and it changed back into her wand again. The wand felt so good in her hand. She really liked the smooth feel of it. Alex swirled the wand around and read the words on the page. Alex, what are you doing? Asked Sarge, as he eased out and behind his chair. I'm casting a spell, replied Alex. Sarge looked at Michaels. Maybe she really isn't Alex. Alex would know not to say just any spell. No. Levy gave her the spell, and if I'm not mistaken, let me read that sentence again. No, Levy gave her the spell, if I'm not mistaken, and this is good. Let her finish, said the horse. I know this spell. She just needs to put my name in the blank. My name is not Chet. It is Calvort. Alex understood and finished the spell. The horse changed shape to a thin, gangly young man. The three of them stared at him. The young man had fallen over as he changed. Now he got up off the floor. He stuck out his hand to Michaels. Hi, I'm Calvort. I'm an apprentice to Wizard Tom Knowles, and I'm a spy. Or at least I was. Now I think plans have changed. Michaels shook his hand. I'm Devon. He saw the confused look on Calvort's face. My last name is Michaels. Calvort shook Sarge's hand. I'm Charles, stated Sarge. Davis is my last name, and Sarge is a shortened title. Calvort shook Alex's hand. It's a pleasure to meet you, my queen. Alex chuckled a little. I'm not a queen, but it is a pleasure to meet you, my rescuer. Calvort blushed. Sarge motioned him to a chair and to have some food. Then they spoke a little bit about what they thought was going on. Calvort explained that it took great magic to make such a tunnel, and someone probably made the tunnel over a century ago. He explained that the elementals were royalty here, and their magic was more than the witches and wizards, but the High Lord somehow took the last set of elementals out. He didn't know the history so well, but the last elementals hid babies in the world they came from with the help of the portals. Calvort admitted that he didn't know Sanchez, or who Sanchez was an apprentice for, but the next time they saw him, he would probably look different. Alex asked about sealing the tunnel and Levy leaving. Calvert explained that, as far as he knew, only the good side had gained access to the tunnels, and not the High Lord side, but sealing them closed helped keep them hidden. He also explained that it would not be safe in Sumner for Sanchez or Levy. Alex asked if Sisnor would be safer, any safer, and Calvert answered that it was much larger, so it would be harder to notice a new person. They weren't sure, but they decided to finish the food and tea and to walk at least some down the tunnel before they stopped for the night. Michaels looked at Alex's hand, and he took out his knife. Alex drew her hand away from him. "You keep cutting me." "I have to drain the pus," stated Michaels. "I will drain it tomorrow morning, too. That should help the swelling go down." Alex wasn't sure, but she held out her hand to him. Michaels drained the pus, and then he dug in a little with his knife and pulled out more mandible. He held it up. "We certainly didn't want that to stay in there." "But it was from the tracker," stated Calvert. Alex could see his disappointment, and she thought maybe her magic wasn't enough to find trackers, so they would need to be careful. The queen needs to cast a spell to burn it," said Calvert. Michael set it on a porcelain dish and looked at Alex. "Let me squeeze out some more pus while you figure out the spell." Alex stared down at the mandible, and she felt sick. She thought that Levy only thought she got the tracker out. She focused herself on that while Michaels drained the pus into a napkin. It hurt as he squeezed. She hoped the whole mandible was out. Michaels finished and wrapped her hand. The only spell Alex could think of was also from Harry Potter. So she said, "Incendio," and the mandible burst forth with flames. Started Sarge. "That was a lot of fire for a little thing. Can you tone down your spells? Can you tone your spells down?" "She should be able to," stated Calvert. He looked at Alex. "I'm not trying to speak out of turn, my queen." Alex shook her head. "No, go ahead." She had her glimpse, so she has access to her magic, but she still has to learn spells. Incendio is not a word I know. Neither were the words she used the other night to get Sarge out of the water. He motioned with his head towards Sarge. "There might be a book in here. We should check before we walk down the tunnel." Calvert went to a few drawers and looked. He found lindens and silverware, but no book. Michaels looked at the coffee table. He reached his hand under and pushed a drawer out. Calvert stared amazed. "A hidden drawer?" he exclaimed. He looked at Alex. "Well, you aren't supposed to bring back people, but he is pretty advantageous and valuable." Michaels blushed a little, and Alex smiled at him. Michaels picked up a small book out of the drawer, and he handed it to Alex. Calvert craned his neck to read the cover. "Oh, wow. If I'm not mistaken, it is a double text, or a double book. I've never seen one before." Three were confused. So Calvert explained. Sure enough, when Alex opened the book, it looked like a simple diary. But when Alex pointed the wand to it and said, "Sticknography," she didn't know where she got that word from. The words from Harry Potter sounded more Latin than this word did, but it worked, and she could see spells because she recognized the words. Michaels leaned over, and Alex held the book towards him. He raised his eyebrows a little. Alex held the book towards Sarge, and he held up his hands. "I'm just along for the ride until I find a portal to go home to Crestoni and my kids," stated Sarge. Alex looked at Sarge for a minute and realized that mostly he didn't work in the field. It had surprised her that he was at her apartment. Alex glanced at Calvert and held the book towards him. He laughed a nervous laugh. "I'm not that strong for words like that. You were born with magic, And even though your magic has been dormant, it will always be stronger than mine. You're an elemental. I'm just a wizard's apprentice. Alex nodded, and she asked for a pen. Michael's had one, of course, and Alex quickly jotted down some of the spells she remembered Eleanor saying on some of the blank pages in the back before they headed down the hall. Sanchez and Levy touched down just north of Sisisnar. They would walk from here. During this day and age, no one saw anyone flying on a broom or pitchfork, and apprentices like to keep low profiles. Levy changed her broom to look like a pen, and Sanchez did the same to his pitchfork. They would camp outside of Sisisnar because the city stayed locked down at night. In the morning, officials would open the gates, and then the two of them could find their teachers to see what they should do. In the morning, for Aunt Stelnar and Ikani, they packed some food and drove to a nearby park. It was quiet in the early morning, and Aunt Stelnar hoped to finish the spell before too many people showed up. Aunt Stelnar had read many spells last night, and she had tried to locate the fifth elemental, but the spell didn't seem to be working. Sorry, the computer is doing cuckoo things. Aunt Stelnar spread out her picnic blanket and sat upon it as she said the spell for the portal. Akani stood out in this environment, but Aunt Stelnar knew from a distance people might think he was a child instead of a gnome. She noticed how he nervously gripped his hat in his hand. When Akani saw the portal open, he gasped and glanced all around. Aunt Stelnar opened her eyes and looked around. No one seemed near. So she gathered her blanket and pushed it back in her pack. She put the backpack on her back and headed into the portal. She knew that Akane usually didn't see the portal when the gnomes set it up. The gnomes would just see the markers or the talisman that marked it off. She saw that he looked amazed at seeing it here. She also thought if he had seen it before, he wouldn't have accidentally ended up in this world. Akane grabbed a hold of her long dress. I don't want us to separate, he said. Once they were through, the portal closed, and both looked around to try to orient themselves. It was quite dark, and there were a few trees around them. We south of Gnome's Wood, stated Akane. Maybe we see if High Lord people's gone. And Stelnar sighed. No, I think I need to find my sister. This place is electric. I feel pops all in the air. But isn't your sister far from here? Asked Akane. Yes, but I need to find out what is going on, stated Aunt Stelnar. How do you know the other three elementals are prisoners? Why would the High Lord keep them alive? Akane looked up at Aunt Stelnar with wide eyes. That's not something I can answer. I start magic to conceal us at least somewhat. Aunt Stelnar nodded. She didn't know that it would be different magic than what the gnomes did for their village, because the village didn't really move. It just phased out of the current dimension, and they didn't want to phase out. But she didn't worry on it. They started walking southwest. Emery and his men had camped in the center of what they thought was the gnome village, and Emery woke with a start. He knew something had just happened, but he didn't know what it was. He looked around. He figured that the animals on their side would let him know, so he laid his head back down and hoped to get a few more winks before this morning. Levy leaned up on her elbow. She reached out and touched Sanchez's sleeve. Did you feel that? I felt something, stated Sanchez, but I don't know what. Eleanor sat up in her bed. No, it can't be. I've lived long enough. Oh, I'm sorry, I used to do a different voice for her. No, it can't be. I've lived long enough to know that feeling. She got up and headed to the room where Alexandria slept. She needed to get the girl to the High Lord as soon as possible. Eleanor held the lantern light up. Get up, girl. We need to travel. We're leaving now. Alexandra didn't move. Eleanor moved in the room, and she yanked the covers down. She aspirated when she saw the material. No worries. I will track you, girl. You will not get away from me. She headed back to the room with the table. She said the spell to track Alexandria, and it seemed Alexandria was just outside. She picked up the green stone to lead her to Alexandria's position. Eleanor flung open her front door and descended the steps. She walked across the wide lane that lay before her house and the large tree. Just before the tree, she saw the dead beetle that she used as a tracker. It wasn't a real beetle, but the tracker looked like a beetle. Eleanor was furious. She cast spells in all directions to try to find Alexandria. That girl apparently knew quite a bit more than she suspected. None of her locator spells worked, so she scooped up the beetle and went back in to send a message to the High Lord that the girl had escaped. When she noticed that the beetle was missing a mandible and knew her location spell still hadn't worked, that alarmed her greatly. The High Lord dressed in flowing black robes. He had felt a disturbance in the magical fabric, but then it seemed to disappear, so he thought the intruder had left their world. Once he got the message from Witch Eleanor, he thought the intruder probably rescued the loose elemental, which made him happy. This elemental was turning out to be a problem. Still, he went to his prisons to check on the other elementals. They didn't seem aware of anything going on. His temper half tempted him to kill them, but he knew there were spies, so the elementals would lead his enemy to him. Okay, writers, that is the end of chapter 8. So it said traveling was the title, and they had traveled to the village, but they escaped their people, or Alex escaped Witch Eleanor, and she's in the tunnels. She's about to travel, so it's not exactly traveling yet. But Saches is traveling. Saches and Levy are traveling. And Stelnor is traveling. The Naomi Connie's traveling with her. So you had some traveling going on, and you know that Alex and Sarge and Michaels are going to travel down the tunnel with Calvort, who's no longer a horse. Okay, so that is the end of chapter 8. Leave a comment on all of the people feeling a disturbance. What is it that they felt? Leave a comment on Alex slipping out of Witch Eleanor's while her pet hiccuped. Leave a comment on, would you be scared that more mandible would still be in Alex's hand? Or cut it more. Make sure it's out. Or it's like, okay, I trust that you've got everything out. Because, like, if you think about a splinter and you try to get a splinter out, sometimes you can see that little dark piece in your skin, and you know that there's still splinter in there, and you can still kind of feel it. But once you get the whole splinter out, you still press on your thing to feel if there's any more, and it's sore. So the soreness or the hurt doesn't necessarily tell you that the splinter is still in or the splinter is still out, but you can usually see it. So Michaels probably saw something when he was cutting to get the pus out. So, would you be scared that there's more mandible in there? Would you let Michaels try to get more out? Would you tell him that he needs to make sure? Or what would be going on? Now, if it's a normal splinter and you've done most of it, you got most of it out, I think they say that after a while it grows out of you because you lose skin every day. So, I'm not sure how true that is. But I don't know about that. If it was just a mandible and I thought it might grow out, I might not be too worried. But it's a tracker, or it's part of a tracker. So that might worry me a little more. Join me Tuesday for some jargon. Join me Wednesday for our book club discussion of 1984. Join me Friday for chapter 9 of Elementals. Visit my website, buymakella.com. Read some character bios. If you read some, then leave comments on which ones you've read. All your comments will help us start conversations and build our community. Keep all comments respectful. Remember that someone else's perspective can help you with your writing. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe and the bell so we can continue to write together and other people will have a higher chance finding this video and this channel, since your likes will push the video out to a greater audience. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your participation. If you know someone who would like this video, please share it with them. This is Michaela with Write with Michaela. Bye for now.